Hello everyone, welcome to Unmask the Evidence. I'm Veronica. Today we're going to talk about Timothy Nuttall, the paramedic who was on scene with John. We're going to talk about his inconsistent statements, what the videos show, and also watch his demeanor throughout the clips that I do play. I am not playing the entire court day. I'm only playing certain clips. That's it. So if you want to see the entire day and further day testimony, head on over to Law and Crime. They have all of it, hours and hours of it. First, we're going to start with Timothy Nuttall asked Karen, "Do you know this person?" And her response is, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." That's where we're going to start. Let's go.
As you were nailing, I want you to take us to that moment. As you're nailing, trying to help Mr. O'Keefe, did you have a chance at any point to look up?
I did.
And when you looked up when you were trying to help Mr. O'Keefe, can you tell us who you saw?
I saw a middle-aged middle-aged female with blood on her face. And real quick, as I was in the process of providing ventilations, I said, do you know this person?
The person that you looked up and saw that was standing over you with blood on her face, do you recognize that person in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
With the court's permission, sir, could you point out that person that you looked up and saw?
It's, in between Mr. Jackson or next to Mr. Jackson.
I see. So when you looked up and saw a person and asked about any background, what did she say to you?
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
How clearly do you remember her words saying to you, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him"?
I remember it very distinctly.
You've been to a lot of calls over the years and since.
Yes, sir.
Would you say hundreds or thousands?
Thousands.
Do you remember all of them?
I remember aspects of various calls, but not all of them, no.
Do some stand out more than others?
Yes, sir.
Did this particular moment stand out more as compared to your typical or most calls that you've been to?
It did, just because of the setting. I mean, it was the weather, it was the unknown factors, and it was the attempting to try and get information and not really being able to glean anything from that.
After the defendant said to you, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," did you ask any follow-up questions?
I really didn't get a chance to, because following that, the individual just kind of walked away, or just kind of went in a different direction. I wasn't able to ask any follow-up questions.
Have you ever received any police training?
No, sir.
Are you a police officer?
No, sir.
Okay, so he wasn't able to ask her anything else because she just walked off or ran off, whatever you want to call it. Next, we're going to go to the video that shows where Mr. Nuttall is saying, "Karen said I hit him." Let's go to that now.
Please move to 6:11 a.m. Please stop the video. Mr. Nuttall, do you see the red lights reflecting on the left?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what those red lights are?
Presumably those would be ambulance 1.
Yeah, so not what you presume. Do you know what they are, sir?
And those are the lights for ambulance 1.
Do you see the weather conditions as it's depicted on this video?
Yes, sir.
Oh, as you stood outside, was it same or different to how it appears in this video?
That is the same.
When you look to the left, you see a straight line about an inch or two from the left of the screen. Do you know what that item is?
Sorry, sir. Repeat the question.
If you look to the left of the screen,
Yep.
You'll see a straight item from the bottom halfway up the picture. Do you know what that item is on
I believe
the video?
that's a flagpole, sir.
Okay. Do you see a little bit of movement of bodies near that flagpole?
At the present time, no.
Okay. Could we continue to play, please?
Yep, there they are.
Could you stop, please? Did you see the first person in line now behind the person with in front of the person with the blue hat?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you back it up like 10 seconds?
Certainly. Keep going, please. Do you know who that person is?
I believe that's me, sir.
Okay. Could you please continue? Is this your first assessment?
Yes, sir. This is ascertaining any signs of life or breathing.
Is that you approaching?
Yes, sir.
Could you stop, please? After informing you return, is that after firefighter Flamati called you?
So right after that, when I turned around, that was when Tony said, "Hey, we're working this."
Okay. Please continue.
Okay, so pay attention. How many seconds pass between the time that she actually reaches Nuttall and then takes off? So I'm counting maybe 3 to 4 seconds. So in 3 to 4 seconds, Karen would have said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." And Nuttall would have also said, "Do you know this person?" Or something along those lines. I don't think that's possible in 3 to 4 seconds. You guys tell me what you think. And also note too, Karen is hysterical. She is screaming, "No, no." But she goes over to Nuttall and she's just calm, I guess. I don't think this happened, like Nuttall says.
Stop, please. And do you see a person come over to where you are?
Yes, sir.
Is it at that point or another moment when the defendant said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him"?
It was right there, sir.
Could you continue, please?
I also want to note too, Karen's hand seems to be over her mouth for quite some time. So she's saying, "I hit him," I guess, through her hand being covered in her mouth. I don't know.
Can you stop for a moment? There's no voices or noises from people coming through that audio. When you were there that night, throughout the event, was it silent or were people speaking? Did you hear people speaking?
There was, as I noted when I got out of the truck, there was quite a bit of screaming. It was quite chaotic. The wind was also a factor, but there were people around. They were speaking within themselves too, but there was screaming, there was wind, and there was different side conversations as well.
And when you were working on Mr. O'Keefe, were you having conversations with your colleagues?
Yes, sir.
They're not picked up on the audio?
No, sir.
Of course, Brennan has to ask this because you could hear Karen screaming, but then you don't hear her after she approaches over there. So they have to give the inside of, well, you're not hearing her because you're not hearing everybody else either. All right, let's continue on. This is going to be Jackson questioning Nuttall about the 3 interactions he's had with the Commonwealth, all over the same subject.
Good morning, good afternoon, Firefighter Nuttall.
Good afternoon, sir.
Nice to see you again.
You as well.
Before your testimony this morning, how many conversations had you had with any member of the prosecution team in anticipation of your testimony today?
I believe it was 3, sir.
When were those?
I could not give you dates off the top of my head.
Give me a time frame. Within the last 3 weeks, within the last 3 months, last 3 days?
Within the last 3 weeks, I believe one the week after that, and then one last night.
One?
Last night.
Last night. What you did discuss, let's take them in order. First of all, who did you meet with 3 weeks ago?
I met with Mr. Brennan and his staff.
And when you say his staff, Who else?
I honestly couldn't tell you, sir.
Mr. Lally?
No, sir.
Male, female?
One female and one, I believe, state trooper.
Okay. Had you ever met State Trooper Tully previously?
Yes, sir. Actually, I believe that was him.
It was State Trooper Tully?
Yes, sir.
Whom you've met with several times, correct?
Prior to that, I believe only once or twice.
He was the one that he has formally interviewed you previously, correct?
I believe he arranged the meetings with Mr. Brennan, but beyond that, I can't speak to.
What did y'all discuss 3 weeks ago?
The first meeting, going in order, it was mostly just kind of an introduction. I had not met Mr. Brennan yet. I really didn't know him. So it was mostly that, and then just kind of seeing where we were at with testimony, going over previous testimony in that sort of realm.
Prior to today, how many times have you testified under oath concerning the incident on January 29th, 2022?
Once at a grand jury hearing and once last year.
All right. As a matter of fact, last year in this courtroom.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you look over your testimony at the grand jury 3 weeks ago during that meeting?
No, sir.
What about the testimony from last year?
We did go over the testimony from last year, yes, sir.
Were there any issues that Mr. Brennan or anybody else in that meeting brought up concerning any of your testimony?
There was just a question of how many times the I hit him came up. It was 3 times.
And were you advised that that's not what you said at your testimony last year?
No, sir.
2 times?
What was that?
You said it was 2 times last year?
I honestly can't recall, sir.
Okay, but you just saw that, or you just read that and went over that 3 weeks ago.
I believe so, sir, yeah.
But you can't remember, as you sit here today, just 3 weeks ago, what y'all discussed in terms of how many times you previously testified that you heard the phrase, I hit him.
So previously testified possibly to 2, but it was 3.
Okay, your memory is clearer now than it was, for instance, a year ago when you testified.
Repeat that?
Sure. Your memory is clearer now, as you sit here, that it was 3 times you heard that, than it was a year ago when you testified that it was 2 times.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're supposed to believe his memory is clearer now than it was last year at the grand jury in his statements to Proctor. His story has literally evolved over all of these circumstances.
Okay. Does your memory get better with time generally? Your memory. I'm not talking about the royal you. I'm talking about you.
In certain settings, I mean, there are certain things about different aspects that I recall better than others. Okay.
And does your memory tend to get better, or does it fade over time? That's my question.
It can fade over time, but it depends on the context.
But in this case, you're telling this jury that your memory is better now than it was a year ago when you testified about the exact same circumstance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You then met about a week after that, which would be 2 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
Who'd you meet with then?
The same group.
And what did you discuss at that meeting?
Again, just prior testimony, and that was really the gist of it.
And tell me the specifics of the prior testimony that you...
Again, it was the how many times we had talked about saying I hit him. Again, it was 3 times. And then there was also the video that was just played for me.
If I'll take the video in just a second. If y'all had met 3 weeks ago and you indicated to Mr. Brennan that it was actually 3 times, not 2 times that you heard the I hit him, why did you need to discuss it again a week later to verify the 3 times versus 2 times?
Not sure, sir. That was just the way that the conversation went. And I just, again, repeated what I said and what I remember from that morning.
Well, tell me about that conversation. Did Mr. Brennan say anything like, well, are you really sure that she said it 3 times?
It was that morning what was said to you. And I said, I hit him. That was how it went that morning, and that was how I remember it.
Okay. And did Mr. Brennan say, well, that's not consistent with how you've testified previously concerning the number of times you heard the I hit him phrase?
Yes, sir.
He did say that.
So now he does remember that Brennan brought up how many times he said it last year. Previously, he says no. Not that I recall.
He wanted to He acknowledged that I had said it twice. However, again, as I mentioned, it was said 3 times to me.
So now you do remember last year that you only said it, that you only said that it was repeated twice.
One more time, sir.
So now you do recall that last year when you testified, it was inconsistent with how you're testifying today. Let me put it that way, correct?
I believe I said I hit him twice on the stand last year.
Right. And if you're saying I hit him 3 times instead of twice, that firefighter Nuttall is inconsistent with your testimony today, correct? You
Yes,
agree
sir.
with that?
But that is how it went that morning, though, sir.
Okay, that's not my question. Let me see if I can do it again. So I'm asking you, if you testified last year,
Yes, sir.
that you heard the phrase twice, and now a year goes by and you're testifying in front of this jury this year that you heard it 3 times, those 2 statements are inconsistent with one another, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Finally, he admits they are inconsistent.
Did you talk at the meeting 2 weeks ago about any other inconsistencies with your testimony?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Well, you were there, and you say not to my knowledge, meaning...
No, sir, we did not.
Okay, so it was just about the number of times that you heard the phrase, I hit him, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. You cleared that up in the 2 meetings, 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago. What did you talk about last night?
Mostly just making sure that everything was as it had been. I mean, and by that I mean it was 3 times, and that we were continuously making sure that everything was the way that it had happened that morning.
Everything was the way that Mr. Brennan wanted it to be.
No, sir. The way that it was I remember it, and I recall it happening.
Okay.
So he has to have 3 meetings with the prosecutor to verify that, yes, I remember hearing it 3 times, not 2 times. If somebody's telling the truth, I don't understand why you would need all of these meetings. That does not make sense to me.
Okay, so he asked you 3 weeks ago about how many times you heard that phrase.
Yes, sir.
You changed your testimony at that time and said it was 3 times instead of 2 times. We agree on that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then he called you a week later, or met with you a week later, and again reiterated, making sure you stick with that testimony that it's 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then last night he called you just to make sure one more time you're going to stick with that testimony that it was 3 times, not 2 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
I love how Jackson just one more time. You had to make sure that you were going to tell what you told me. And if it's the truth, you shouldn't need to be talking about that and being refreshed or whatever that many times. So now we're going to move on to he's going to discuss what the scene looked like at the time that Karen supposedly said this to him. Let's move on to that.
Sorry, he showed you the clip that you've just seen on direct examination, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell him where you were?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Brennan ask you to define exactly where it was that you supposedly heard this phrase, I hit him?
No, I was able to give that to him, sir.
Okay. And what you told him was that moment when you see my client walk over sort of to the left of the screen, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you defined, that's the point at which she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Yes, sir.
And that's in response to your question. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You asked, do you know him?
Yes, sir.
And she repeated the phrase 3 times, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Correct.
Okay. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Did Mr. Brennan ask anything else about that specific video?
No, like I said, he kind of asked me to point out different individuals on the scene, and that was really the extent of it.
Okay, we're going to go forward to where Jackson gets just a little bit more information out of Nuttall about what was discussed between him and Brennan. Oh, that's as close as we're getting.
Did Mr. Brennan bring that up? during the meeting 3 weeks ago?
He asked about what I had meant when I said appropriately dressed.
So you did talk about something other than just the I hit him, correct?
Yes, sir.
When I asked what y'all talked about, why didn't you tell us that?
To be perfectly honest, sir, I did not remember until right now.
So your memory is fading even after 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Fading memory. But yet he remembers more today than he did a year ago. And I guess I shouldn't say today. I guess I should say during this trial. Okay, so now we're going to go forward to Jackson talking about the hematoma on John's head. And Paramedic Nuttall absolutely refuses to answer the scenario of could a punch have done this. He doesn't want to answer it.
Swelling, right?
Correct.
And a very common cause of a hematoma over one's eye could be being hit or punched in the face. We talked about that.
There could be several causes for hematoma, such as that.
Obviously. I mean, it could be a golf club, a baseball bat, or it could be a fist.
It could be.
Okay. We talked about that last year. I asked you if the injuries that you saw on Mr. O'Keefe's face, including the laceration over his right eye, was consistent or inconsistent with a physical altercation, and you said it was consistent with a physical altercation as well.
Excuse me?
Objection to referring to past testimony before a question is asked.
So sustained.
Sure. Do you remember a laceration, in addition to the hematoma, about a 0.8 centimeter laceration over his right eye?
I do.
Tell me I'm using a word that maybe not everybody understands. I didn't understand it when we first started this thing. What's a laceration? What's the difference between that and a cut?
A laceration is they're basically the same thing. A laceration is just a deep cut.
Okay. So it's a parting of the skin.
Correct.
In other words, where the skin separates.
Yes.
And that can be from blunt force trauma, meaning something hits it rather than cuts it.
You can get
Sustained.
What are some of the causes of lacerations?
You can get a laceration, as you noted, blunt force, but you can also get a laceration from a slashing movement, from a stabbing. I mean, that is still a laceration.
What about a hematoma?
That is primarily caused by blunt force trauma.
Right. And the hematoma and the laceration were right next to each other, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you indicated last year, or let me ask you this way. Is that consistent or inconsistent with a physical altercation?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
I could not say, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Well, last year, you indicate you can't answer that. Last year, you did answer it, didn't you?
Objection.
So I need to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
So he can't answer that. Although he did answer that last year. He doesn't want to answer it. Brennan doesn't want him to answer it. And it's a simple question of, was it consistent with a punch? Pretty simple question that he should be able to answer. We all know a hematoma can come from somebody being punched, especially with a lot of force. He doesn't want to answer it. This issue is not able to be brought back up before the break. They end up going on break. And Jackson asks some questions prior to bringing the hematoma back up.
Engine 3 that night. She was with Lieutenant Woodbury and firefighter paramedic Frank Walsh.
Is she also, in addition to Walsh being, it's Frank Walsh?
Yes, sir.
In addition to firefighter Walsh being a paramedic, Katie McLaughlin was also a paramedic?
Correct.
Okay. So she responded to the scene at the same time as you, generally, but in a different ambulance?
In a fire truck, in a piece of fire apparatus. She was in Engine 3.
Got it, Engine 3, okay. And she was with you, generally, when I say with you, at the scene during the entire time that you're describing the events that you described with Mr. Brennan on direct examination?
For the most part.
Okay. She then left in a particular ambulance, correct?
Yes, she ended up driving ambulance 1 to Good Samaritan.
And ambulance 1 was which ambulance?
Ambulance 1 was the initial ambulance that myself, firefighter Kelly, and firefighter Flamati responded in.
So right after the scene you described, as you're leaving the scene, firefighter McLaughlin is in the ambulance with you and firefighter Flamati, correct?
She is driving. So the three of us are in the back in the patient compartment. She is up front in the driver's seat.
Once at the hospital, did firefighter McLaughlin go into the hospital with the other firefighters?
I believe so, yes.
So she was with you in the engine, she was, although in the driving cab, she was with you, ambulance in the driving cab. She was also with you right after the scene at the hospital, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she was also with you later after you cleared the hospital and went back to the station.
Yes, sir.
And the reason Jackson brings this up is to say that McLaughlin was around Nuttall, and they could have discussed all of this together to come up with this whole I hit him, since McLaughlin says the same thing that Nuttall says. Now we're going to go forward a little bit back to the discussion of the hematoma. And of course, Nuttall not wanting to answer it again.
When we left off before lunch, I was asking you about a hematoma and a laceration over the right eye of Mr. O'Keefe. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
I asked you, is being punched in the face, can that lead to a small laceration like you saw and a hematoma like you saw?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. Can you answer that question?
I couldn't speak to how that injury occurred.
Is it consistent? Are those injuries, just those injuries, are those consistent with being punched in the face?
Those injuries could be sustained from numerous ways.
And
yes, it could be from that. It could be from others as well.
Okay, so that.
If he is an unbiased witness and he is there for the truth, he is a paramedic, and he's sitting here stuttering over his words because he does not want to answer Jackson's question that yes, a punch could have done this.
That's what I'm asking you. It could be. In other words, it's consistent
Yes,
with
sir.
being punched in the face, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go to the discussion of when Nuttall says Karen told him, I hit him.
It's giving the chest compressions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that the statement was in response to a question that you asked of my client, do you know him?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Correct.
And she responded to you with the phrase that you've used, I hit him.
I hit him.
Right. So it's absolutely clear in your mind when that statement was made, you were knelt down over Mr. O'Keefe. Firefighter Flamati was doing the CPR, and Kelly was with the both of you when you posed that question.
Yes, sir.
It's a very detailed memory.
Yes, sir.
You indicated, Mr. Brennan, that sticks out in your mind. Is that right?
It does.
But that's not at all what you told Trooper Proctor on February 8th, just 10 days after this incident, is it?
I don't recall what I told Trooper Proctor.
I thought your memory got better with time.
I don't recall that meeting.
Okay.
I recall meeting with him, but I don't recall the extent of what was discussed.
You literally.
If you notice, Nuttall does not remember anything that could go against what he is saying now. He remembers everything else, just not his inconsistent statements.
Literally don't. In that meeting in that formal interview with the lead detective on this case.
We discussed the case, but I don't, and in his words, I'm not sure what he put down.
What you said to Trooper Proctor on February 8th, 10 days after this, was you overheard Miss Reed say, I hit him one time to another female that she was talking to. Correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Did you say that?
I have no memory of this, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
What is he mouthing after he answered the question?
Did you say that her statement was an answer to a question posed by the female, or a discussion with the female?
Break that down for me, sir.
Sure. Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th that what you heard was Karen Reed speaking to a female, not answering a question that you posed?
Again, I don't recall that specific question.
His demeanor right here is extremely weird. The way he's mouthing, his facial expressions, I think he knows, well, I just got busted in a lie.
Did you tell Trooper Proctor on February 8th, while you were rendering aid, and at the time you heard the statement, Miss Reed was actually praying over John? Your words, praying over John.
I don't recall ever saying that.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to skip forward to him being confronted with Proctor's report.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Sir, did you have an opportunity to glance at the report that you were just shown?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection about your conversation with Trooper Proctor that he put in a report?
It does not, sir.
So as you sit here, you have no memory of what you just read in this report from Trooper Proctor, the lead investigator on the case?
I have no recollection of ever saying that anybody prayed over anybody ever in this case.
You did see it in his report, though.
Sustained.
You've admitted under oath that your memory of the events at that time, from that time frame, January, February 2022, is faulty, correct?
No, sir.
In your April 2024, it's April 30th, 2024 testimony from last year, you were asked whether or not your memory was a little faulty, and your answer was absolutely, correct?
Could I have a page and number,
Where is
please?
that, Mr. Jackson?
Volume 8, page 151, lines 14 through 16.
Can you give me the lines again?
Lines 14 through 16. I'll just allow counsel to get that up.
If we could pose the entire question and give content to it, please.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah, so do you intend to show the whole question?
The whole question that I asked and his answer, yes.
All right, and I'll give you the opportunity on redirect, Mr. Brennan, if it's not. Go ahead.
Is it true that in answer to the question, quote, so it's fair to say your memory is a little bit faulty as it pertains to that time frame, your answer was absolutely, correct?
From last year?
What you testified to last year about conversations that you had with Trooper Proctor around February 8th of 2022.
Yes, sir.
And you would agree, as you sit here, that your memory is still faulty about your conversation with him, correct?
With Trooper Proctor? Yes, sir.
So you're not saying you didn't say...
Watch how much Kanoni interjects herself in this line of questioning right here.
that the statement was made to a woman, correct?
Objection.
Are you saying that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. And you're also not saying that you didn't say to Trooper Proctor that you saw Karen Reed praying over John O'Keefe.
Objection.
So I'd like you to ask that differently. Did you say that?
I have no recollection of saying that ever.
Okay. Next question.
My point is, if you have no recollection of it, you're not denying saying it.
Objection.
Are you denying saying it?
Yes.
Okay.
So you do have a recollection that you never said it. Do you understand the difference?
Oh, sir, I don't believe I've ever said praying. That's really not something that I would have said. I didn't see it that day. It didn't happen. I don't remember ever saying prayed.
You didn't
in regards to this case ever.
You didn't see it that day, and it never happened. That was your words just now, correct?
Break that down for me.
You didn't see it that day.
Jackson has to break down Nuttall's own words that he just spoke. We're going to go ahead and move on to Nuttall. So this is going to be the video where Nuttall and firefighter Fulmati are down by John. So that puts them together in the scenario that Nuttall has disclosed earlier in testimony.
Before you play it, can we have it on that screen as well, or is it only playing to this screen?
I don't know. When Ms. Gilman did it, it was both. Great.
There we go. All right. Before we play it, can I ask you a quick question about this?
Sure.
It appears that this is paused. Do you recognize this as being the same video that you were shown this morning by Mr. Brennan?
I do.
All right. Describe the scene.
So that is 34 Fairview Road. The lights in the background, I believe it is either right as we pulled up or right as we're pulling up.
Okay. Same dash cam video.
Yes, sir.
Can we scroll this to the 6:55 runtime spot, please? Pause it. Okay. Do you see the individual on the left? Far left.
Yeah, the jacket?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
I believe that's firefighter Fulmati.
You previously indicated that firefighter Fulmati was on his knees providing CPR at the same time you were knelt down providing the airway.
This isn't when it was
That's
stated.
not my question. Is that what you said?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. You indicated earlier when you heard this statement by my client, you were very detailed. Firefighter Fulmati was knelt down providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support for Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
I had also...
He does not want to answer Jackson because he knows that this video right here shows the scene that you described, but Karen never enters over there.
said that at some point
That's a
firefighter
yes or no
Fulmati
question.
Objection.
So I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
had transferred CPR to firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly did take over compressions at one point.
Okay. That's not my question.
Okay.
My question is an easy one. Did you say that when Miss Reed walked over to you and you had this dialogue with her, she made that statement, that firefighter Fulmati was on his knees providing chest compressions at the same time you were knelt down providing airway support?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Firefighter Fulmati, your testimony, appears to be standing up right there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's play the video forward for just a second. Stop it. What did you see firefighter Fulmati do just now?
I believe he just knelt down.
Okay. So at this point, he's kneeling for the first time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's about to provide chest compressions as your memory serves, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause. Did you see my client in that photo? In that clip?
No, sir.
You didn't see her?
Oh, no, I did see her, yeah. I don't see her on right now.
Right. She just walked off frame, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward. Stop it. You see my client walk back into the frame?
Yes, sir.
At this point, you were watching firefighter Fulmati. He appears to be now providing CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And my client is nowhere near you, correct? At least for this clip.
No, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
And the clip that I just played before, the few seconds that I played before, nowhere near you, correct?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and play it forward.
And there's the stretcher. So there's no more time for Karen to enter in over there where Nuttall's at to say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. This scene exactly describes what Nuttall testified to, that Karen never enters in over there. So now we're going to continue on to, I guess Karen said I hit him to others that were on the scene. But Nuttall's answer is he does not remember her saying it to other people, and it is not something that Brennan expected him to answer with. Oh, there we go.
And in fact, do you remember, in addition to her saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, when you asked her the question, kneeling down over John O'Keefe's body, do you remember if you ever talked about other times that she said it, not to you?
I do not.
He does not remember other times that she said it other than to him. Brennan's going to try to get this out in a different way because he's like, hey, Nuttall, this is not what we agreed to that you would testify to. Listen to Brennan's answer when he's like, okay.
Okay.
The answer is I do not. Next question.
Okay. Do you remember testifying previously in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember at all discussing whether or not, after she left you, whether or not the defendant was still talking and speaking?
I'm sorry, sir. Repeat the question.
Do you remember, after the defendant left you and made that statement to you, do you remember talking, did you hear her speak to other people after you?
I heard her having conversations in the background, but that was not my focus at that time.
Okay.
It was not his focus at the time, her speaking to other people. This is the second time Brennan's trying to get it out.
Okay. And during those conversations in the background, did you hear her talk about that same issue again?
I believe she said it several times, but the 3 times she said it to me were what stuck out to me.
This is right here, time 3, and Brennan kind of helps him out a little bit with, you know, hey, you heard her say this other times. So Nuttall's response is absolutely not believable, especially with what he keeps throwing in there. Well, it wasn't my focus. What she said to me is what stood out. That is not truthful testimony.
Okay. And when she said it to other people, it wasn't directly to you?
No, sir.
So watch the form of the question, Mr. Brennan.
And when she said it to,
stating the objection.
when she said it to other people, do you know who she said it to?
I do not.
I'll allow it. So the answer is I do not.
I'm sorry.
Do you remember when she said it other times who she said it to?
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for this.
Okay, now we're gonna go to Jackson saying, well, now you remember it a whole bunch of times.
So now, after Mr. Brennan asks you a few questions, now you remember her saying, I hit him a bunch more times. Correct?
I remember hearing it in the background several other times.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Never mentioned that on direct examination, did you?
I don't remember being asked about it, sir. I remember saying what was asked to me.
You were asked, did you ever hear the defendant, Ms. Reed, say anything about I hit him? And your answer was, she said to me, in answer to my question, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and that's it.
To me.
You didn't clarify that, oh my gosh, she's running around like a chicken with her head cut off, screaming I hit him to everybody else under the sun.
This is an important issue that Karen is running around saying I hit him. But this was not brought up on direct by Brennan. I don't understand why this wasn't brought up. This is pretty important if she's seriously going around saying I hit him to everybody. But this is them trying to justify the fact that Nuttall saying he heard her say it, as well as McLaughlin.
It was, again, it was behind me in the background
Right.
as I was providing patient care. Again, that was not my focus.
Okay, so you didn't really hear her say anything in the background, because you weren't focused on that, right?
I remember hearing a generalized commotion in the background, but again, that was not our focus.
So generalized commotion is very different than hearing her say, I hit him to other people. Correct? You'd agree with that?
Yes, sir.
So what you actually heard was the chaos and the commotion of a chaotic scene, correct? In the background.
In the background.
As you focused on your patient care, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not specific words coming out of my client's mouth, correct?
To the question that I posed, do you know him?
You're right. We're off that question.
Okay.
That question, I got it.
Yes, sir.
Triple I hitters.
Correct.
But with regard to what Mr. Brennan just asked you, the generalized commotion, to use your phrase, in the background, you didn't hear any specific words coming out of my client's mouth, did you?
I heard I hit him. But again, it was in the background and it was not my focus.
Well, why didn't you say that on direct? That's kind of an important point. That's why you're here.
Again, if it was neglected on my part, it was not intentional.
Not intentional to neglect that part for the jurors on direct examination.
No, sir.
Certainly not intentional to neglect that part of your testimony on cross-examination.
No, sir.
But you decided to bring it up on recross examination when Mr. Brennan is asking you questions again, correct?
It was asked of me. Yes,
And
sir.
it was after, of course, that your new statement that you've never testified to before, ever, is this generalized commotion included a bunch of items in the background, correct?
Sir.
And that comes after you saw the video that clearly shows that when you describe having heard this statement, my client was nowhere around you, correct?
That segment of the video that you showed me,
Yes.
that was not the time frame in which she said that to me.
Well, that was the time frame when Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
He was doing CPR down prior to that as well.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, you just testified that you saw him standing up in a big yellow jacket and then kneel down and start giving CPR. We just watched that video, correct?
But again, the clip of the video that you showed me,
Right.
that was not the segment in which he said that to me.
Well, that's what you're saying now, but what I'm asking is, you described a very distinctive scene, a very, very specific scene.
Yes, sir. I remember it vividly.
She said that I hit him phrase when Flamati was down giving CPR, and you were kneeling down giving airway support, and he was doing rhythmic CPR chest compression.
Yes, sir. That's what happened.
And then I showed you that very scene, didn't I?
Yes, but you showed me that clip prior to that.
I showed you the very scene that you described where Flamati gets down and starts chest compressions and never stops until the gurney is taken off the frame of the camera to the Isn't that what I showed you?
That is
Sure. I don't know if I can do it again. I showed you the scene where firefighter Flamani gets down on his knees, begins chest compressions, and never stops until that gurney is taken off camera, off frame, into the ambulance. That's the clip I showed you, correct?
That is the clip you showed me.
And that is the exact scene that Nuttall explains of when she said it. That's what Nuttall is not understanding.
And that's exactly when you described your vivid memory from 3.5 years ago. That's exactly the scene that you described when my client supposedly said, I hit him to you, correct?
Again, the clip that you showed me, that was not when it was said. That segment that you showed, that was not when it was said. It was said prior to that, when the three of us were together.
So Flamani was not giving chest compressions then?
He was. The CPR was a continuous effort throughout the resuscitation.
But we saw him start it. Firefighter Nuttall, we saw him start it. We saw him walk into the frame, kneel down, and begin the chest compressions, didn't we?
We did.
And
So if he's starting CPR for the first time in the video that Jackson showed, how was he there prior to that 30 seconds to a minute prior?
at no point at that time or after did my client even approach you, did she, in that clip?
She did.
What?
Objection.
Just a question.
Sure. Do you need to see the that clip again?
Yes, please.
We're not going to show the
Cannoni's not going to let it be shown again. But the Commonwealth is allowed to replay theirs, just not the defense.
video again. We've seen 2 videos. Which one is marked?
The
The
Commonwealth.
one with the timestamp at
Right.
the top?
It's the exact same video. One has a timestamp, one doesn't. Just to be clear, you described a very detailed scene in which firefighter Flamati got down on the ground on his knees and began CPR.
Yes, sir.
We saw a clip that it played fully through.
Mm-hmm.
Starts and stops, but it played fully through, correct?
Yes, sir.
That was true and accurate video of what happened that day,
Yes, sir.
that morning, correct?
Correct.
And from the time firefighter Flamati began his CPR, he never stopped. Went all the way through until the gurney was taken off the camera, correct?
Correct.
You also described very clearly, before you saw the video, that the time when my client walked over and you had this dialogue and you heard this statement, it was during the time that firefighter Flamati is given the CPR, correct? You described it.
Yes, sir.
But when we actually see firefighter Flamati giving the CPR, as per your description, at no time did my client walk over and have a conversation with you, did she? in that video?
She did in the video.
In the portion that Mr. Brennan played you, was firefighter Flamati giving CPR at that point?
As I said previously
Was
as well.
he or was he not? Yes or no?
Objection.
I'm going to let the witness answer the question.
Firefighters Kelly and Flamati were trading off CPR. Tony started doing CPR, and it was passed off at one point to Firefighter Kelly. Firefighter Kelly at that time was a BLS EMT. Firefighter Flamati was a paramedic. They're going to move towards Firefighter Kelly performing CPR because at that time his skill set was not as advanced as Firefighter Flamati's, as Tony's. But they did switch off. That is a routine cardiac arrest. We switch off compressions.
But
So here's my question. If CPR was started 30 seconds to a minute prior to Jackson's video, so he's saying that Flamati only did CPR for, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and then Kelly was doing it, so that's why Flamati's not in the video? And then 30 seconds later, Flamati's walking back to do CPR? None of that makes any sense. Not with the amount of time that is in the videos.
Video that Mr. Brennan showed you was earlier in time, a few seconds or a minute or two earlier.
Yes, sir.
You'd agree with that, correct?
I would.
And firefighter Flamati had not begun CPR, had he?
I don't believe so.
That's right, he hadn't. But that's the time that my client walked over your general area, correct?
Correct.
Before CPR was started, correct?
CPR was started immediately, sir.
Can we wrap this up?
I don't know if we can, Judge.
Give you a couple more minutes.
I think he's looking at the Commonwealth like, are you going to object or what are you going to do? Are you going to save me? Jackson's got Nuttall totally flustered.
Understand the confusion?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right, a couple more questions on this. The video that Mr. Brennan showed you,
Yes, sir.
and you pointed to and said, oh, that's the time when she walked over and said the statement.
Yes, sir.
Remember that?
I do.
Firefighter Flamati was not even kneeling down giving CPR, was he, at that point?
No,
The answer is yes or no?
no.
Okay, he was not. Later, as the video continues to run, at some point, we see Firefighter Flamati enter the screen, kneel down in that bright, reflective yellow jacket, and begin CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had previously said that when you heard the statement and she walked over to you, it was when Firefighter Flamati was giving CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at no point, you'll agree with me, we just played the video, at no point after he started giving CPR did my client come anywhere near you. Isn't that what the video showed?
That was the segment that you showed me.
Okay, so Paramedic Nuttall, I guess, has said this under oath, where Karen has said to other people, I hit him. We'll fast forward to that, and this will be Brennan that is crossing, or redirect, I think, at this point.
Sir, in Mr. Jackson's questions, he asked if you had ever said that you heard the defendant say, I hit him, separate from when she approached you. Do you remember previously testifying that you heard her saying, I hit him in the background, separately from you?
Yes, sir.
But see, nothing ever comes up of this. Brennan asked that question. Suddenly Nuttall remembers that, yes, I testified under oath about this. That is all that is said. Nothing else is brought in to substantiate it. Nothing.
You remember testifying that before under oath
Yes, sir.
in court?
I do.
Anything, Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, just a second, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. If I may?
Yes.
Just a quick question, Firefighter Nuttall. When you were asked to recite your memory of that day on February 8th, 2022, just 10 days after this incident, did you ever say that you heard in the background, I hit him over and over again?
I don't recall.
All right.
When you testified at the grand jury, last question, when you testified at the grand jury, did you ever say that?
I don't recall.
But again, your memory is better now than it was then. Right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
There it is. His memory is better now than it was then, except for he can't seem to recall anything from then, especially if it goes against his testimony this trial. So you guys tell me what you think about his inconsistent statements, the video. What does the video show to you? And if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I will release more videos. Probably next will be Carrie Roberts and then Jim McCabe after that. And until the next time, see ya.